Hello everyone and welcome back to API Test Hub. Today I'm going to start a new series on creating Spring Boot Java application for API testing. So in order to continue our API testing series, we need to understand that we require a REST application. So in this series, we will be creating a REST application on products. In this REST application, we will be adding the functionality of creating new products, updating those products, fetching the details of the products, and deleting those products. And we will be using this application to understand the concept of API testing in more detail. And I'll walk you through whole actual process which an API tester follows, like creating the test cases, executing those test cases, creating bugs and reporting those bugs, and how to do the functional regression and performance testing on this application. So you have to stay tuned for this series. So let's get started. So the very first question is, what is Java? Java is a coding language and it's a programming language which is widely used. So there are so many applications today we see are built in Java. So this is a coding language and it is platform independent, which means you don't need to have a specific platform to run it. You can develop it anywhere and run it anywhere. And the more important thing is it's a simple and secure language. So if you want more knowledge about it, I will be creating another series for which will be covering the fundamentals of Java, which as a QA you require to enhance your skills, because being a QA you have to be technically sound as well to understand the application code, and in case if you want to debug it you can do that, and to do the automation of your test cases you require some understanding of a programming language. So I will be starting a new series on that as well. So as of now, just understand that it's a programming language we will be using for developing our REST application. Next question is, what is a Spring Boot? So Spring Boot is a framework that makes the Java application development very simple. Actually, it removes the need for complex configurations and lets developer to focus on building features. So the Spring Boot framework has inbuilt tools and microservices support, which makes the development very fast and efficient. You can think of it as a shortcut to create Java applications. So it's very demanding framework these days. Without Spring Boot, I don't think there is any API is being built today. So it's a very demanding one. That is why we have chosen it. So another question comes is, why Spring Boot for API testing? So as I told that it is widely used for API testing due to its easy setup and rapid development capabilities. And it supports embedded servers, built-in testing tools, and works seamlessly with API testing tools like Postman and Rest Assured. That is why we have chosen the Spring Boot for API testing. Now let's quickly move towards creating the Spring Boot application. Now, let's create Java Spring Boot application. So Spring provides a Spring Initializer, which we will be using to create our project. So let's get started. So this is Spring Initializer. It's the very first step to create a project in Spring Boot. So it's really easy to create the project with just few clicks. Your project will be ready to download. So let's get started with that. So the first thing you have to do is select the project. So it will be the project build. So if you don't know about it, don't get confused. I'll cover in upcoming videos. So as of now, we will be selecting Maven as our project build. Then it will be the language as Java, and Spring Boot version will be the default one. And as I already told that we will be making an application on products. So let's do the metadata information according to that. So I'll be giving group as com.api and naming my project name as products. So it will be my demo project for API testing. and packaging will be the jar, and Java 17 I will be using. So coming towards these dependency, these are kind of additional features that Spring provides you to add in your project. So you don't need to add anything manually here. You just need to add the dependency. For example, I want to make my application as a web application. I want the methods to insert, like get sending a client messages, sending a client request, getting the response back. I want that kind of application. That means I have to select Spring Web. I'm adding some more dependency, and I'll cover those in upcoming videos whenever we come to that. So don't worry if you don't understand them. I'm just adding as of now so that I don't need to add it afterwards. So these are all things I have to do. So just what is the next step? You just need to do the generate. So after giving all these configuration, you just need to click on this generate. So just click on this generate, your project will be downloaded. So let's see how it's downloaded. So it will be a zip folder. You can extract it here only. So after extracting, what is the next step? The next step is you need to open your IDE. So IDE is the one where you will be running this application. So I am using Eclipse. You can use any IDE. It can be Eclipse, it can be IntelliJ or anything. So I'm using Eclipse. So what you have to do is go to your Eclipse, and in the file you can go to this import option. Just click on it, and we have this Maven project, right? We have already existing project. So what we will be using in the Maven, choose existing Maven projects, click on next, and here you have to browse your whatever you have downloaded, right? You have to browse that, and what it will do, it will identify that it has a pom.xml. Then you just need to finish it. So you will see that your whole project will be imported in just few clicks. So isn't it easy and really efficient to create a Java Spring Boot application? So this is the Spring Boot Java application we have just created. So now let's understand it. So this is the structure of the project. So you can see that this was the package name I have given while generating my project, com.api.products, and inside this I have a products application.java. So this is my main class. So what is the main class? Main class is the class which is the root class. So from here only your application will be running. So how this it will know that this is your main class? This is defined with this particular annotation. So whatever starts with this @ symbol, these are called annotations in Spring Boot. So in Spring Boot, that Spring Boot application is an annotation, a special marker, you can say it, that is placed on the main class of your application. It tells Spring Boot to do few important things automatically for you to help launch your application quickly. So this particular annotation, the Spring Boot application, consists of three other annotations, that is auto configuration, component scan, and Spring Boot configuration. So what they do is usually, so this @enable configuration, this tells the Spring Boot to try and configure your application automatically based on the libraries and classes it detects in your project. And this @component scan, this tells Spring to look for all the classes in your project that are marked as special components like services, controllers, etc., and automatically register them. And the Spring Boot configuration, it marks the class as a configuration class where beans, like pieces of your application like database connection services are defined. So this is so much technical information, right? So let's understand it with some real life example. So let's consider a smart home system. We are setting up a smart home system that is a Spring Boot application. It's doing that for you, right? So what it basically does is that this @ enable Auto configuration, consider it's a system automatically adjust the temperature, lighting and security based on your preferences. So if you have a smart home system, this particular at the rate enable auto configuration does that thing. And at the rate component scan, what it will do, it finds every smart device in your home like lights, fans, doors, etc., and connects them to work together. That is the purpose of this at the rate component scan in this Spring Boot application. And the third one, at the rate Spring Boot configuration, what it will do, it sets up the initial blueprint of for the home, like the layout of your rooms and the right wiring plan, etc., through which everything will be done so that smart home, this system can be configured easily. So I hope this has cleared what is Spring Boot application. So now let's do one quick round of testing in this Spring Boot application which we just created. Now what I will do is I'll create one new package. So if you are not familiar with these kind of what I would say the terminologies I'm using, so don't worry about it. I'm soon going to start a Java series where I'll be covering all the fundamentals, all the main terminologies that as a QA you have to know. So let's create one more package, and inside this package I'm going to create a new class. So I'll name it as API testing as of now. So I'm just want to show you like how I can test my application, whether it's really a web application or not. So let's get started. So what I will do, I'll make this as my controller and I'll do it as REST controller. So you must be wondering like what is this REST controller? This REST controller tells the Spring Boot that this class will handle all the web requests. So what are the web requests? We have already discussed many times. So you can understand it as the request with HTTP method and the whole URL. That will be a request. So where whichever class has this REST controller, it defines that this particular class is having some requests in it. It is handling some web requests. Next comes at the rate request mapping. So in this request, we will be having some kind of like request, right? So request will be with some methods like get, put, post and everything. So how it will be defined using request mapping. So let's do why it's red, because it is asking us to import some frameworks. So it's gone, right? So what I will do now, I will create one method. So if you are not sure what is method, I'll cover in Java series. So let's first method, I'll call it as first method. And what I'll do, and I'll just return one message. Hello. And I'll annotate it with get mapping. So what is this get mapping annotation? It will define that this method will act as a get method. That is the easiest definition we can get. So this particular method will act as a get method. So here I have created one REST controller. REST controller is nothing like it has a web request in it. So I have already created it. Now what you can see is in my pom.xml, I forgot to show you that. So in pom.xml, you can see that whatever I have is selected while creating the project, everything is here. So this pom.xml is very crucial in Spring Boot applications. So whatever dependency you want to add on, we will just be adding it here only. So you can see every configuration information in pom.xml. So what I can do now is it's there, controller is there. I can go to my Java application. I can just run it. Now let's run our Spring Boot application. So you just need to right click, run as a Java application. Run as a Java application. So what you can see it will be running in the terminal. So you can see here that your application is running on port 8080. So let's create quickly one get method to test this. So we already discussed that this get mapping is a get method call, right? So let's do that. So come to the Postman and let's create a new HTTP request. This is a get request and this application is running in my local. So the URL, the main domain will be HTTP. So this will be the one HTTP localhost 8080. Why 8080? Because my this Tomcat is running on 8080, and this will be my REST controller slash API. My whole API is my put, post, get, everything will be API. So I can put it as products as well. So I can name it as product. Moving forward, I will make changes. As of now, I'm just demonstrating how it will work. So request API, having API as a request mapping and hello as the get endpoint. So let's see. What you have to do is slash API slash hello. So that will be my request, and get doesn't have any body. So I'm not providing any body, and it should return me as a hello, as a return thing. So what I will do, I'll just send the request. So you can see it here. I'm getting hello back. So that was all about creating a Spring Boot application. So we have started it. In the next series, I'll create a proper methods for our product application, and we will be testing those using Postman. So that was all about Spring Boot application, the initial step. And thank you very much. And in the next steps, we will be developing all the other methods and testing them using Postman. Thank you so much.